Okay, so in this video, we're going to be reacting to a video that's going over what you should know before speaking to a recruiter. I want to make sure that you guys are prepared. This is a general video, and I'm going to be watching it, seeing how and where it's going to be relevant, where we can tie it in specifically for remote high ticket sales, what we can take, what we should leave. Let's jump into it and see what he's got to say.
Okay, so you have an upcoming conversation with a recruiter. Are you ready? Do you know what to expect? Do you know what you need to prepare going into that conversation to succeed? Well, I've been in recruitment for 15 years. In today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly what to expect when you have an upcoming call with a recruiter. Let's go. Now, first things first, I always tell people that it makes sense to know the difference between the main types of recruiters. For most purposes, there are really two types of recruiters. There are corporate recruiters. These are recruiters who work for the company. They work for a single company. So if you're applying to a company like Tesla, there are recruiters who work for Tesla. They report into Tesla hiring managers, and all the recruiting they do is for Tesla. That is a corporate recruiter. Now, the other type of recruiter is an agency recruiter or a third-party recruiter or a headhunter. Now, the way they work is they work for a company like Manpower or Titus Talent Strategies. And this company serves a whole bunch of other companies. So they have clients, and their clients will come to them and they'll say, hey, we need help finding a software engineer. And then that recruiter, third-party recruiter, agency recruiter, headhunter, they will go and try to find people who are good fits for the role. So those are two different types of recruiters, and quite frankly, when you're working with these two different types of recruiters, you need to be ready for different things. Let's start with the corporate recruiter. Now, the first thing is when you're talking with a corporate recruiter, there's going to be some pretty key differences between an agency recruiter. First and foremost, they work for the company, okay? So when you talk to them, be prepared to talk about a few things. One, what do you know about the company? If they call you up, they might ask you, what do you know about our organization? And you need to be prepared. When you were talking to a corporate recruiter, it's almost like you're immediately in an interview. They work for that company, that's their company. They can immediately move you forward in the process if you have a good conversation, so it's important to know that. Another thing that's really key here is they are all going to have access to hiring managers. If you talk to a corporate recruiter, they probably meet with the hiring manager weekly. They connect with the hiring manager, and the hiring manager recognizes them as their go-to person for candidates. They are expecting candidates from them. So if you talk to a corporate recruiter, access to hiring managers is actually pretty good. If you have a good conversation with that corporate recruiter, within an hour, that hiring manager might know who you are and that you talk to the recruiter, and they're going to expect you to move through the process.
Yeah, essentially the relationship is a lot tighter, relationship is a lot better. They're known and waiting for that recruiter to bring people in, corporate as in the recruiter that's specifically working for the business. You're not going to find too much of this in like the remote high ticket sales space. You will if you are more so on the tech sales side. If you're looking at SDR jobs, account executive jobs, those types of roles, you'll see more of the corporate kind of stuff where they've got at the bigger companies, especially where they've got like recruiters that actually work for the company specifically. But for if you're looking at like closer roles, appointment setting roles, typically selling like info products, coaching, consulting, advertising agencies, not many of them, unless they are like the biggest ones there are, not many of them will have inbound like corporate recruiters working directly under them. Most of them will have like the sales manager do it. Most of them will have direct the HR directly as part of their roles will do it, or they will be working with the other type of recruiter he's speaking of, the more general recruiter. So what he says about the general recruiter will probably be more relevant for you guys that are watching this for remote high ticket sales. But at the same time, one good point is doing your research on the company, especially if it's a company you really want to work with as a closer. If you see that they're solid, knowing specifically about the types of people they serve, why it's important, and the impact they're able to make, showcasing your conviction for what's being sold will go a long way, because a lot of recruiters, a lot of business owners, they know that conviction sells. And if you can come being like, hey, the work we do here is important, the work you guys do is important, and I believe it really works. I believe it's a solid product, it's a solid service, and I'm really looking forward to helping people in this way, serving people in this way, and getting people on board with something I know is going to be life-changing for them. They're going to take very kindly to that and hire you, even with less experience, even with less track record than your counterparts.
When you're talking to a corporate recruiter, it's likely they have a role in mind for you, right? You probably applied to a role. That's what happened. You applied, they saw you applied, they looked at your resume, they said, this is a pretty good candidate, I'm going to reach out. That's how the process works. So they probably have a role in mind. It's also possible they have other roles in the company you might be a fit for. They won't have any roles for any other company, but for their company, they will do that. Another thing that's really important is you need to be prepared to talk about salary, because salary is definitely going to come up when you're talking to a corporate recruiter, because you were essentially in the interview process already. When a corporate recruiter reaches out to you, even if it's just to set up an interview with them, technically the interview process has started. And sometimes when they call you, you're going to have just a very a conversation right away, and that conversation, they might ask you what you're looking for salary-wise, and it's really important to be ready to have this discussion, because what you say here might impact the offer you get down the road. So be
for the types of recruiters that is relevant for high ticket sales. Again, the agency type of recruiter that's recruiting for multiple different offers, they might actually they probably will ask about the OTE expectations, kind of OTE you're looking for, simply because they want to be able to place you on an offer where that OTE is possible or likely. Obviously it's sales, it's commission, like anything is technically possible, but what is most likely based on lead flow, based on deal sizes, based on commission being offered. I've seen really good reps that were solid for an offer that they wanted to land, get turned down or not get picked or not get the interview. And when I went back and spoke to that recruiter about what happened, the recruiter was like, yeah, they're great, but their expectation, they said they wanted to make $30K a month, but reps on this offer usually make like 15 to 20, or reps on this offer usually make 10K a month. So it just wouldn't be like, I don't think we should put them on there with that expectation. It's just not going to happen here. So, and they even told me, if it was someone I was coaching, hey, you need to either have a conversation with them about lowering their expectation for this first or next offer they're going to land, or we can wait till we have other offers to place them on. So that's something to keep in mind, that when you're talking about expectations, when you're talking about OTE, you're talking about goals, if they ask you that, try to not talk about your like biggest, wildest goal, biggest dream. I want to make 100K a month commissions. That's where I want to get to eventually. Not that it's not possible, not that you can't make 30K, 40K, 50K, but usually when people are making that, it's not, hey, you're on a team where everyone on the team is making 100K a month. It's usually like the top performers on this team are crushing out these numbers that are higher than the rest. So you want to make sure that you're talking more in terms of averages, more in terms of what's livable for you, comfortably livable for you when you're talking to a recruiter about your OTE expectations and goals.
Ready to discuss that. Okay, now let's talk about agency recruiter, headhunters, third-party recruiters. These are very different, right? They don't work for the company. The company is their client, and they have a lot of different clients, and they have a lot of different roles they're working on. But I want to make something very clear. The agency recruiter does not work for you. They do not do things on your behalf. They work for their partners, the companies that are hiring. So whenever you're interacting with them, just remember that they have that company's best interest at heart, right? They make money through placing people at organizations. So they're always going to do what's best for them. Another thing you need to be ready for is it's going to be more of a casual conversation. When you're talking to a corporate recruiter, you're already in the interview process. But when you're talking to a headhunter, a agency recruiter, third-party recruiter, it might be a little bit more casual. And one thing that is really important here is a lot of agency recruiters might have several roles for you that could be a good fit for several different companies. And a lot of them are going to be willing to send you to multiple companies. If they are a good recruiter and they have a lot of roles in your space, it could immediately mean you have access to 3, 4, 5 different roles. So that might be a pretty big benefit. Now, when it comes to the difference between a corporate recruiter and agency recruiter, another pretty big difference is that agency recruiters may not always have access to hiring managers. Corporate recruiters work for the same company. They are literally colleagues. And sometimes they're even peers, right?
And one thing I just want to mention before I forget, he's making a really good point here. But one thing I want to mention as well is make sure that especially with the agency recruiters, that you're following up and staying in contact, because I can't tell you how many times, like, especially when I was working directly beside recruiters, and, I had reps that I was coaching and helping them, connect with those recruiters. That was my job, train the reps, present them to recruiters, and, continue the cycle. I can't tell you how many times that reps would, talk to a recruiter once, maybe get one interview from them, not pass the interview, not get the role, and then just kind of sit around for weeks and weeks and weeks or a month and just kind of like wait for that recruiter to get back in touch with them with other offers. You could see the recruiter posting other roles. You could see them getting other roles that they're recruiting for, talking about it on their socials, putting it on their like private like job board lists. And still that sales rep would just kind of wait and wait and wait and not ever reach out to that recruiter and just kind of wait for the recruiter to reach out to them with the next opportunity. And although a lot of recruiters will reach out to you with the next opportunity, if they're like super in love with you and they're like, yeah, this rep is killer, I'm going to give her as many opportunities as I can and get them hired because I know they're going to get hired and they're going to make me look great because they're a great rep. Chances are you are not that standout killer top rep in their pipeline for the most part. And even if you are, you want to keep in mind that most of these sales recruiters have hundreds, if not thousands of reps coming through their pipeline every single month. And to expect them to remember you for every single job opportunity is asinine. At the end of the day, I can't tell you how many times a recruiter, I would ask them, be like, hey, I got Jake here. He's waiting for another interview. What's going on with his profile? What's going on with his account? All that. And they would just be like, oh, I just, I forgot about him, right? Since we put Jake in an interview, we've had 10 other jobs that we're recruiting for and 200 other reps that we've vetted through and are placing on interviews. So every single time a recruiter posts a job, or just as a standard practice on a weekly to monthly basis, you should be touching base, following up consistently with those recruiters, and make sure to respond fast. Recruiters love working with people that respond quickly because especially these agency recruiters, their job is to place people in offers and place them in offers fast. Corporate recruiter, you probably don't run into this as much, but with these agency recruiters, what a lot of companies do is they get like 3 recruiters, 4 recruiters, 5 different recruiters, and they might do commission only for the placement. And they'll say, hey, whoever gets the job gets the job. Whoever gets the placement gets the placement, right? So you guys all bring me reps, and whichever rep I end up choosing, that person's going to get the couple $1,000 payout for that referral, right? So if a recruiter messages you with a job opportunity and you take 24 hours, 48 hours to respond about it, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about it. And you take 24 hours to be like, yes, I'll do that interview. Chances are when they have another opportunity, they're just not going to reach out to you. They're not going to waste their time because they know you're not someone that's reliable and going to respond quickly. Because now if everyone takes too long to respond to them, the next recruiter is going to get that placement and they're going to lose their money and they're going to waste the time that they spent actually vetting through their list and reaching out to you and other people. Right? So you want to respond quickly and you want to make sure you're following up so you can stay top of mind with these recruiters. It's just human nature. They're just going to forget you. Imagine if you had hundreds of people reaching out to you every week for opportunities. What are the odds you're going to remember that one guy or that one girl who reached out 3-4 weeks ago and you placed on an interview and maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't work out. You might have been one of the 5 people, one of the 10 people they placed in that interview. If it's like a group interview style, which you see a lot of times with remote sales, you see businesses doing group interviews with like 5-6 people. 3 of those people might have been from the same recruiter. Or maybe all of them might have been from the same recruiter. So what are the odds that they remember you specifically? Make sure you do your follow-up.
But when you're a third-party recruiter, agency recruiter, headhunter, you will not always have access to that hiring manager. And even if you do have some access to it, it could be limited. You might not have that sort of same rapport because ultimately they're a vendor, they're a client. They don't work for the same company. Now, really good recruiters will have great connections with hiring managers and they will have access, but that access exists on a spectrum. Some recruiters will have virtually no ability to connect with them, and it's like they're just sending them emails, not very effective. Some, they're going to be a well-trusted headhunter who they've known over the course of the years, and they can actually influence the outcome. Now, how can you tell which is which? Well, this video here, I made 6 different red flags when it comes to working with.
Awesome. Looks like that is the end of this one. Maybe we'll check out that other one because red flags working with recruiters, that is huge. But hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was some good information for you guys when it comes to working with recruiters. Especially if you've closed before, especially if you have a track record in sales, it's one of the fastest ways to get on some of the biggest offers out there. A lot of these big offers just kind of like throw money at recruiters to bring them reps on commission. So it is a great way to land good offers. Make sure you utilize it. If you're looking for the recruiters you should be reaching out to for remote high ticket sales, I know it's a little bit hard to know who they are, where to find them. That's what RepSelect helps with as well. It's my software company where we have daily job opportunities, lots of other tools to help you land jobs. But one thing we have there is a list of the top 30 recruiters in the remote high ticket sales space. So if you go down there, we send you directly to their pages, directly to their application processes, and you can connect with these recruiters and start getting interviews immediately. Start connecting with recruiters. Link is down in the description. If you go all the way down to the bottom, you'll see you just go to where it says find jobs, or go to repselect.io, sign up for an account, get started, connect with the recruiters, and land a role. See you guys in the next one.